Doug Walsh here. I am with Bob, and one of the things I want to talk about today in his progress is really showing you, like, when you have had a horse and they inherited him this way, but you have a hypersensitive horse, right? If you ever heard of hypersensitive people, they're just aware of a lot more stuff than the normal person. So then if you put the squeeze on them more, it's going to affect them differently than most horses, or just like with people, most people, right? So in the case with him is that he was presented to, he's an eventer, going to be an eventer, he's 6 years old. And as you follow his journey, he was presented a jump with a Liverpool, had an issue with it, and was really gone after at that Liverpool. So he had a lot of herd-bound issues. If you watch his story on YouTube and on my online university and master class that I have, you'll see what we've gone through to get him to where he is now. But as a horse that he would rear really badly, he would just have issues, friends leaving, everything. So, but he's got a lot of fears, and you can see he gets very preoccupied. So he doesn't have a lot of trust, and we're working on the trust between the human and him to build his confidence. So in some cases you might see someone, if they're going to work on a tarp or something, and they amp up the pressure and make the wrong thing difficult and the right thing easy, that the horse will eventually kind of settle down and go. If you're going to work over here, now if you're genuinely afraid of it, we want to make sure, in my opinion, that we look at the energy that we work with our horse and get them to be comfortable and start to trust in us. If I'm just getting after him to go on the tarp, it's not going to be good for either one of us. So I want it to be a positive experience for him. So I might do some other work around the tarp, or around, in this case, around Liverpool, and then he'll get to rest near it or on it. So, but if I amp up the pressure too much with a highly sensitive horse, his mind's just going to go away. So that does not work with him. So this is just another case in the program. So I'm getting a licking and chewing. You notice how he got a little bit closer to me. I'm okay with that right now because he's doing it to try to build confidence. So licking and chewing, I'm looking for that. You saw that it's taken him a bit to get to that point where he can just lick and chew. I've worked with this Liverpool for probably, I don't know, 10, 15 sessions. It's really been a struggle for him, like to the point where he was so afraid of it, he didn't want to get near it. So he's had such trauma that he associates that with really, really bad things. So I'm going to work on that with you a little bit, show you kind of what I've been working on with him, see how he's doing. My goal is to get him, because this is all being affected under saddle. We do a lot of stuff under saddle now, but we're running into roadblocks under saddle that are still issues that are on the ground. So I'm going to go back to my groundwork. So you might find that you can get on your horse, but then all of a sudden, if you have a hiccup and you're having a hard time getting through it on the ground under saddle, and you go back to the groundwork and you're still having problems in the groundwork, that's going to transfer to under saddle. So I hope you guys find this enjoyable, and what I'm going to do now is just ask him. So I want to make sure that he's moving his body correctly and where I want it to move. I'm going to ask him just to come up to this. So see how he gets stuck right there? So I'm just going to ask him, and then whenever he gets nervous, he starts to look around a lot of things. So I'm just going to ask him to just take a step, and when he takes that, now he gave me 3 steps when I just asked for 1. But you notice when he gets nervous, he starts to put his head up and look around, and he gets really bracy on the right side. So I'm just going to ask him to say, hey, will you trust me enough? See how he wants to go around it. I'm just going to ask him. Good boy. And so he puts 1 foot on it, and I'm going to allow him to relax for a second, because this is big for him. But you can still see this is probably 10 hours of working on this, and he just gets so worried of that. And I want this to be a really relaxation point for him, because if he's going to be a jumper, he's going to be an eventer, and all of a sudden now we see that the back end of the nerves are working and he's pooping. So if he's going to be a jumper, we want him to not go over anything for fear. We want him to go over it because he trusts us and he feels comfortable with it. So you notice there I kind of stepped out of the way for him. I want to give this I want to give this the best shot possible with him. And where I don't want him to ever come into my space, when he first goes over it, so he was better there, he just gets nervous, right? So it goes to show me, so now we get a lick and chew. It goes to show me that if we were in any situation where he gets nervous, he's gonna wanna run people over. So that's what we don't want. And that's what happens when he gets nervous. And it's not that he runs people over, but that he doesn't recognize where he is at. So today's a good day because this is the first day I've asked him to go over it kind of on his own. Good. And I'll let him back off for a second there. Then I'm going to ask him to come right back to it because we've worked on this enough and he's gone over this quite a few times. But you would think that I've never done this with him. So I want him to search for that right answer. So remember, the first sign of learning is the horse doesn't know what the horse doesn't know. The second sign of learning is the horse knows what they don't know. And then the third sign of learning is that they start to connect the dots of, okay, this is something that he's asking, and we open the door for him that is the door we want them to go through. So I'm going to ask him to come back over here. And so I'm not going to allow him to come to the right. I'm going to say, can you figure this out? Good. Oh, good boy. So if he's just standing there, I'm going to let him totally be. I want him to know that that's a good place. And so he did. He said, I did it for 4 seconds. Woo! Man, that was really difficult. And he really struggles with this. So if I can't get past something as simple as this, how am I going to get past anything else with him? Now, we've worked on a lot of his separation anxiety. Like, he wouldn't, 2 months ago, he wouldn't even be down here without any other horses in sight. So, how did I get through that? Well, he was never out with another horse, he's just next to other horses. So what I had to do is I had to work with him in the area where he was most comfortable, because if I went to a space that was far away from other horses, good boy, if I went to a space that was far away from other horses, his brain couldn't handle it, and he was in a state of panic, and you can't really learn when you're in a state of panic. So I had to get him comfortable and build that up in his paddocks. You can watch the videos on that, and then slowly move him further away from his group and slowly build that trust with him. Good. But you can still see that probably 95% of the horses that I work with would have gone over this the first day with no problem. Highly sensitive horse. If you've never heard of highly sensitive people, they're people that are just wired a little differently. Horses that are just wired a little bit differently, that can be more sensitive to things. With horses, we can really help them manage that and be more comfortable. It's like hot potato form, right? Oh, but see, he took a big breath there. So like, you can see in the video the worry that he has just doing this and how much of a struggle this is for him. So we continue to work on this, and then I might ask him to walk across it completely now. So see, he's resisting. I'm going to say, you can do this. Okay, so he walks across it with the front end, and then I might just let him take a break over here for a second. Just let him kind of chill out for a second. We're still near it, we're not away from it, but I want him to understand that it's okay, that I appreciate the smallest try. So I'll bring him back here now. Good boy. Might work on this side now. But see, you can see in the video how, so see how he just, the shoulder's gone, so I'll say, hey, you can't come into my space. So that at least he made the right decision to go forward, but you see how worried he got? And you see, all I did was tap him with the flag. I didn't do a lot to him. I just said, hey, you can't get into my space. So I'm gonna ask again. And you can see right here how his like reaction is to want to just throw his head up and then stand up. So out of my space. Nope, I don't want you to go that way. Good. So now what I might do is I might just ask him to move a little bit. Now you see how he jumps right into this big trot and his head's up and he's hollow. This is something that I've been working on with him to just become more relaxed. And to know that like just asking him to move, so what it teaches me is that when you add pressure to him, he gets very concerned and very worried. So I'm looking for him just to start to relax his head down. See how he wants to just pull away from me? So I'll bump that head, ask him to move the hindquarters a little bit, ask him to go forward, because his big thing is to stop and stand up. So I don't want to make the work when you're talking about having him do exercises, make the wrong thing difficult and the right thing easy. I don't want to make that like punishment for him. I just want to say, hey, we need to work on this stuff anyway. So let's work on moving that hind end. Let's work on moving that front end over. Let's move that front end over again. And then now I'll bring him in and I'll say, hey, so the head goes up. Ask him, just come here. One more step. Good, now this is where you get to rest. So see, we get this lick and chew now. And I'll say, no, 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 I need you to stay here. Good boy. So now he gets to rest here. So see how if we incorporate a little bit of exercise and then this is where he gets to come to rest, we're still working on our fundamentals and our basics and our foundation work. So the more that he understands that this is the resting place, then he's not going to be afraid of it. So he steps off for the third time, so I'm just going to ask him to do some exercises again. So I didn't ask him to go into the trot. That was something that he did on his own. So that's where that tension and that worry is, and you can see it in him. And if you have a horse that you find is a little bit more sensitive, it's okay. I mean, you want to make sure that you have a trainer that understands that some horses, just like some people, are more sensitive than others. And the more pressure you put on them, the worse it's going to get. So they'll either shut down, which you don't want to shut down horse, or they'll just fight you all the way. And so I have found that when you have these highly sensitive horses and you take your time with them, and what is that time frame? The time frame is what it's going to take. By going through the right procedures, we want to speed it up as fast as possible. So I'm going to ask him to move the left shoulder over. So move the left shoulder. Step on it. Good. Nope. So if he comes into my space, I'm going to move him off my space. But he's doing that because he's going, this is too much for me, and I have to get out of here. So this is where we work on this stuff because it's a safety factor. So ask him to move. And I want to be really nice and light. I'm going to fix his reins here. I want to be nice and light on the halter. I've got his bridle on right now because I'm going to plan on getting on him afterwards. And it was just easier than going all the way back up to the barn. And I like him to get used to the bit in his mouth too. Good boy. But you see how quickly he wants to escape this. So I'm going to keep working on this, show you the progress that we find with him. But remember, this whole thing is about sensitive horses. And if you have a horse that's sensitive and then has had a major trauma, it's gonna take some time to get through it if you want to get through it the right way. I could probably hammer him over this thing, and he's gonna be afraid of it, and more afraid of it, and then he's not gonna want to do it and want to enjoy it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please reach out and email me at info@naturalhorsemanship.com. Check out our YouTube page. Please subscribe, and enjoy your journey. Take care.